is the continuing story of Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Mia Farrow as Allison Mackenzie, Ryan O'Neill as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington.
Stephen Cord and his client Ann Howard begin the trip to Boston, where they have just learned Ann's father, Brian Colby, lies in critical condition. But Stephen's thoughts are with his mother, Hannah Cord, and the strange, frightened way that Hannah reacted to the news of Colby's imminent death.
Mrs. Cord, Stephen called and he said he had to take Ann Howard to Boston. Did he tell you anything more?
I'm sorry, excuse me. Well, Morton, how do you feel? Safe, secure, content?
What ghost is chasing you now, Hannah?
You were so sure, weren't you? You were so sure you knew the answer to Brian Colby, weren't you? You assured me with that mathematical logic of yours I had nothing to worry about. I was being emotional. I was being stupid. You knew Brian. You were so sure that he wouldn't tell Stephen the truth. You were so sure he wouldn't risk losing his blackmail money. Well, Martin Peyton, now nothing is sure. Nothing. He's dying. Brian is dying. Now tell me a dying man won't reach out to his own son? Convince me now he won't tell Stephen the truth. What's the matter, Martin? Why aren't you yelling at me the whole night on? Why aren't you telling me I'm wrong? Why don't you tell me I'm wrong? I've lost him. After 28 years, I've lost Stephen. It's a strange way to bring up a child. I kept my distance. The only mother he had, I kept my distance because of you. I wanted him to be strong and independent. I wanted him to respect me. I wanted him to love me. Now he's going to hate me. For the rest of his life, he's going to hate me. And for the rest of my life, I'm going to be alone. With nothing and no one. Nothing but that hate.
Hannah. Hannah. Come here.
Rod. Rod, I've got to talk to you.
Okay, what's up?
It's important. Now, you said you talked to your grandfather, and then you started avoiding me.
This is a family matter.
Oh, a family matter. Your mother's portrait slashed and hidden in the cellar, and your grandfather and Mrs. Cord whispering every time I'm out of earshot.
Stay out of this, Betty, for your own good.
I can't stay out of it. Now, this has something to do with Stephen somehow, and he's my husband. Rod, we've got to talk.
Okay, talk.
Come to the house tonight.
You and Stephen?
No, Stephen won't be there.
Oh, Betty.
Rod, please.
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe we should talk. But tonight, that's it. That's got to be the end of it.
All right.
here.
Thank you, Lee.
What time do you want me to pick you up?
I can get home all right.
Sure.
Look, Lee, I told you you didn't have to drive me down here.
Well, it's no sweat for me.
I can't have you chauffeuring me around all summer.
All summer? I thought we settled this. In a couple of days you were going back to Boston, right?
No, I didn't say that. You did. I like it here with my family.
And Allison Mackenzie.
Thanks for the ride.
It's more than just having a read for you, isn't it, Kid?
No.
Well, you'd like it to be.
From the first minute I got here, you've been handling me, telling me exactly what I should say to Stephen Cord, how I should feel about Ann Howard. Well, this is one part of my life where I don't need your help.
Don't you?
No. And if I should take a fall, at least I'll know what it feels like to hit the ground.
You know, that's pretty gutsy talk, Kid, and pretty safe. You're living in my house, you're going to school on my money, and you're putting me down for it? Well, how far do you think you would have gotten if it wasn't for me breaking your falls and clearing the way for you?
I don't know, but I sure would like to find out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's easy for you to say. Leave me alone, Lee. Let me breathe. Because you know I'll always be around to pick up the pieces.
Why? Because you want to protect me?
Yes.
From what, Lee? What do you want to protect me from?
How goes it, Doc?
All right.
That was my brother, Chris. I would have introduced you, but you caught him at a bad time. You see, we had a talk about Ann Howard, and that always seems to set him off.
Why don't you stop talking about it?
Well, why don't you stop breathing? I mean, it would be just that easy.
All right, Lee, I've seen your brother, and I've heard your version of his sad story. What I said to you still goes. You stay away from Ann Howard.
Well, who's going to keep her away from us?
Well, you've got a good sense of direction. When you see her coming, walk the other way.
Yeah, well, that takes care of me. What about Chris? I mean, he can't see everybody sneaking up behind him.
That's your problem.
And Ann Howard's yours. And you know something, Dr. Rossi? I think you got the short end of the stick.
I'll get it.
I'll do it, no problem.
No, I'll get it. It was my mistake. I'll take care of it.
Sure, fella. I'm sorry I didn't mean any harm.
It's all right. Thanks anyway.
Nobody was here. May I help you?
Mrs. Carson?
Yes,
I'm Chris Webber.
I know.
I thought Allison might be here.
Well, she's at the hospital.
Oh. Well, we didn't have an appointment or anything. I just happened to be by, and I thought I'd stop.
Sometimes she stops by on her way home.
I didn't mean to barge in. I really thought she'd be here.
We could call the hospital.
No, don't do that. It wasn't anything important.
Don't go.
I don't want to interrupt you.
You're not. I'm glad we had the chance to meet.
So am I.
Allison hasn't told us very much about working with you, except that she enjoys it.
She's a great help.
She reads to you, huh?
Yes, law. I have a lot of catching up to do.
Well, then you'll only be in Peyton Place for the summer.
That's right. Don't worry, Mrs. Carson.
About what?
Allison and I, we're friends, that's all.
I wasn't.
Yes, you were. And I don't blame you. From your side of the fence, I must look like a grade A liability for a girl like Allison.
No, it isn't that. It's just that Well, you don't know her very well, and if you're only going to be in Peyton Place for the summer.
I know she's different.
How do you mean?
Well, most of the girls I've known want to take care of me, mother me, cross the street for me, even swing my cane until there's nothing for me to do but tag along. Allison, when I'm with her, I cross my own streets. She seems to understand.
That's good to hear.
It doesn't surprise you, does it?
As a matter of fact, it does. Allison's usually one of the other kind. The kind that hovers over a friend. Mr. Weber.
Chris. Chris.
Chris. Allison is a very intelligent, sensitive girl.
I know that.
She's also very complicated.
Mrs. Carson, there are so many people hovering over me, I couldn't be hurt if I wanted to. And I'd never hurt Allison.
Oh, I know you wouldn't. Lately, it seems every time I turn around, I'm interfering. I'm not apologizing. I feel like a stranger in my own house. I'll tell Allison you stopped by.
It wasn't anything important.
I'll tell her anyway. She'd want to know.
It's up to you.
No, Chris. It's up to Allison. That's a promise.
Thank you, Mrs. Carson.